Hey guys, Jeremy here with Simple Life. What we're going to be working on today is a solution to a welding problem. Let me explain. So this is the bay of my garage that I work from, a single side. I do have a second bay in my garage, but this is for our van, our family vehicle. Right now the temperature outside is minus 32 degrees Celsius, and I kind of like having a vehicle inside so that when we've got to go somewhere we can just get in and go. Now currently what I'm doing for welding is basically this. A lot of the welding projects I do are small things right now. Little brackets, bicycle racks, like to carry things on your bicycle. And what I do is I kind of set a couple 2x4s on my workbench here, and I put this on top of it so I can at least put my ground to here and have a place that I can weld on. Obviously this is not ideal, but I think I might have a solution. This is the 24x36 welding table from Princess Auto. What I would like to do is take this out of the box, get it set up, have a look at kind of what it's all about, and then modify it so that I can have it so it folds up out of the way. I don't know if I'll be able to use like the existing legs that come with it or not, but let's go ahead and unbox this thing. We'll have a look at what it's about out of the box and then come up with a game plan, figure out some way to make this a portable folding welding table. Oh, a lot of folks asking about the pocket clip. It's still holding up very well. Excellent retention. That was the last video on this channel if you're interested in that. Ooh. These are the legs. Got adjustable bottoms on them, so that's cool. Ooh, these are all metal too. I like that. That's a nice looking little foot pad. So in looking at this table, we see we've got this frame underneath it. And obviously it looks like this stuff will kind of bolt to the edge. We'll look at the manual and figure it out. But look at this. I think this is ideal for what I'm looking for. Not super duper thick, 150 thou. So it's about 5/32, which is right in between 1/8 of an inch and 3/16. As long as it's fairly flat and true, this should work out nicely. Let's get this thing assembled and we'll see what this kind of looks like out of the box. Looks pretty straightforward to me. Yes. Not too shibby shabby. Super precise, machinist straight edge. This is exactly what I was wanting, but this is not a heavy duty welding table. 440 pounds, yes, it could support that. I believe that. However, 440 pounds is not a lot of weight. This isn't super thick, but what I wanted was something just like this. All these holes have been drilled for me. What I'm actually going to do is build my own base to go underneath here. I'll probably have this that lifts off and is, has a separate framework that once is opened up, this will just slide right on top of. And then I'll be able to simply hang this on the other side of my workbench. And again, it's not super heavy. That was one of the key things. I need a portable welding bench. Also, I'm gonna leave one end, try to have one end open so that if I'm TIG welding, I could actually bring a chair in here, get in here like this, but really, really like having all of these holes. Yes, they are very, very accurate. And you kind of see what I'm saying? Like if I had some little piece of shafting that were bigger than this diameter, and I'll machine them so they kind of drop in, a very precise fit, and that way I could put one here, one here, one here, one here, and essentially I can just, and then I can keep everything square. And I've gone around and checked all of these holes. They must be CNC punched or something like that, but they are all very, very accurate. Definitely to within what I weld to. You see you've got nice line on the edges there, nice line on the edges there, all nice and square. So that is really nice. You just think about how long it would take to drill out all these holes. I guess the next step of the process is to figure out how big we want this frame to be and start modifying it. Alright, so now the steel has had a chance to warm up. What I think I'm going to do for this is we're going to follow the existing frame that's under here. This is some steel I picked up from Princess Auto. This is 1x2, I believe. 1x2. So, it's going to fit right nicely in between these set of holes, just like their existing frame does. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of measure these up. We're going to chop these down in the cold cut chop saw. The very first step of this little DIY conversion is to put our own frame underneath. And again, this is going to be fairly nice and heavy. These aren't super thick, so it's not going to be like heavy weight, but a lot of structural rigidity. We'll have the frame sitting like this and bring our corners like this. This is enough area that I can work off of, and having this little dogs in here is going to be really useful. If I were welding all day every day, I would probably want something at least a ½ inch thick. Let's just start cutting stuff up. All right, so I've got this, like, it's an old IKEA shelf, and this is pretty much like the flattest thing that I have in my shop right now. So we're gonna weld it on here. I'm just gonna use this little picture framing clamp. All right, so we've got this frame welded up. I'm actually probably gonna put a center gusset right in here, possibly two. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and start tackling this. The first thing I'm gonna do is remove this coating that they have on here, and I just took a little lacquer thinner and gave it a test, and it works pretty good. Whoops. That's just something they put on there for shipping so it doesn't rust. I'm gonna wipe this thing down. I'll wipe the bottom side down too, and then I'm gonna remove it from the frame, put our new frame on here, and do just a couple little tacks, clamping everything, and then I wanna see how flat it is. Once that's done, then I'll decide where I wanna put my cross braces. We'll get those in there, and then we'll just make the base. Really not a super complicated project, but this is gonna be really handy to have. I should have gloves on. All right. This backside's coated too, so we'll get that wiped down. I'm actually gonna use those countersunk holes to tack on our top. All right, now I'm just gonna kind of knock any of these burrs off from these countersunk holes so it's nice and flat when we go weld it up. Yellow. I gotta take this. And it has a foot pedal? Oh, good. So we should try and see what other options there are. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Tack. All right, we're gonna weld it up. Alright, so I just made a really dumb mistake. I was supposed to cut this at 18 5/8, one of these bars. I ended up cutting it at 18 1/8, so I'm 1/2 inch short. I had actually done the same thing on one of these end pieces, so I'm gonna actually have to use this. All that means that I'll only be welding right here and here. It's gonna be okay, it's just the center support. I was just about to cut this one up and I realized that this is one of the 4 pieces I have left, and then obviously I need 4 legs, so silly mistakes, but I think we'll recover. And if you see the finished product and you wonder why this gusset on the bottom, this center support is like this, yeah, it's because I measured it wrong. You notice I didn't put a whole lot of weld on here, mostly just kind of some small tacks. I don't want to distort this. All I really wanted to do is hold on. The frame is plenty strong enough. I just want to make sure this top stays on. And if I start laying down some heavy welds, you're going to get some pretty crazy warping and bowing, dishing and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of took it easy with the welds. I think that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to come along and just fill a little bit of welds in these spots where these countersinks were. All right, guys, I think that pretty much does it for the top. This is about as far as we're gonna take the top. And when I was looking at the different designs, different ways you can build a folding welding table, ultimately I want this to be as small as possible in storage. So for that reason, I'm gonna actually make this a 2-piece table. So this top is pretty much done. I'm gonna have some scissored legs that are gonna open up and they will kind of latch into here and here. Obviously they'll cross in the middle with a hinge and then go out. And the idea is that I'll be able to take this table and I'm gonna put some hooks on the front of this bench so that when I'm not using this, I can just hang it here. It'll be nice, it'll be off the ground, out of the way. And then the folding legs themselves, I can just fold those up and put them underneath the stairs in the garage. This isn't something I'm gonna be using all the time, but it's gonna be really nice to have a nice flat welding surface. And with all these holes, you know, we can use those little dogs and jig everything up. But I don't have any drawings or dimensions in my head, so right now I'm just gonna kind of start fiddling around with some steel, trying to figure out the angle, and then I'm gonna try and reuse the threaded feet that came with the stand for this. That way, I can set it up for where I'm gonna be using it all the time, level it all out, lock all those leveling legs in, and then I can fold it up, put it away, and when I set it up every time, it should be really nice and level and flat. So I'm just gonna let the camera roll. I'm gonna kind of fiddle and faddle with some different angles of the dangles, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so this is the center line of this piece. Okay, and then we want this to be 34 inches, and that'll bring us, this is 34 and a half. Let's go with 34 and a half. So we're gonna make this exact same mark. So we're basically 2 1/4 from each end. That to there, that to there. And that should give us our angle right there. I'm actually gonna mark that out too, so that I can mark a center line on each one. If I lay this over top of here, that'll be the center. And that should be the angle we need to cut all these to. 25 degrees. All right, so with those cut, I think I'm happy with the angle there. Should be good, and should be good. I may end up putting like a little metal tab in here just to help lock it in. I'm gonna see how well it works like this, but that's the basic concept. And then to figure out the center portion, what I did is I went to the very edge, scribed a line, went to the very edge of basically where this starts, because I want to find out what the dead center of this is. And then I used one of these little magnets, put it on here, and that way I could put my tape up to it. Measured this, I think we had 37 3/8. And then I measured that, what was it, 17 11/16, I think. And this was that center line that I had drawn before, so we're pretty darn close there. I'm gonna go ahead and center punch. This line here was the measurement, and so it's a little bit this side of where I had this marked, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop a hole right here. I also did the dead center of the width, so it's a 2-inch piece, so I marked the line at 1 inch. And essentially right there, so I'm gonna drill the hole. And then I'll drill the first one, and then I'll put another one underneath it. We'll kind of clamp them together, drill it through. Obviously you want these to be as perfectly centered as possible so that they all sit nice and flush like that once they're installed. So next step is I'm going to drill these things. All right, so here we are. We're getting closer. It's starting to come together. You see I turned down that little tubing and we got those welded in right there. That just gives it a lot more surface area for the bolts rather than just drilling a hole. Eventually those will start to get elongated, so by welding a pipe in there we give it give it years and years of extra service. So next step, I'm going to put some top caps up in there. We're going to drill and tap them so that we can use these leveling feet. So we'll get those on there, we'll weld those up. I'm going to weld a crossbar in here and then probably a crossbar on the other side. Yeah, just gonna kind of do that stuff, play with it a bit. The tricky part, sort of, is getting this thing so that it's gonna be stable back and forth this way without having it bolted to the frame. So I think what we'll do is we'll have like a bar right in here, and then I'll have one maybe right in here, maybe some cross bracing, and then also something on this side. But I do want to be able to fold it up like this and have it stay nice and flat so that it can go, be installed. Basically I want to keep it the profile of one of the thicknesses, a 2-inch profile. So that'll be a little bit of a challenge, but I think it should be doable. I like it. All right, now I'm just going to mark the holes. We're going to put these right in the middle. I think that should work good. All right, so we've got these tabs all ready to go. We're gonna weld these on. And you know when you get to that certain point of a project where you just want it done, I'm definitely there right now. So I'm not gonna TIG these. I'm just gonna get my MIG welder, zip them up. I'm much quicker MIG welder than TIG welder. So we're gonna go ahead and pop these suckers on, and then we'll cut our bracing for in here, weld that up, and then we're just gonna test it out and kind of see how it initially works. We might wanna do some other type of brackets or little fixtures. I'm not sure if I wanted anything in here that would like latch on to kind of set this up, but we're gonna kind of play it by ear, see how it works. And ventilation fan. All right, so I'm gonna stick this little bolt in here so that I can protect the threads. I can evenly put it in there, it kind of bottoms out right there. And then I'll tack it and weld the whole thing up. I just used the old cross measurement, so I measured from here to here, here to here, squared up. I've got this clamp on here, just pulling it in a little bit so we can get this thing squared up. It's pretty much perfect right now, so we'll weld it together. Need something to go across here and lock these together. All right, folks, that was way more work than I thought it was gonna be, but I'll show you how this goes together. I need some steel. This piece that I welded on the side here to keep the two outer layers together. It also prevents it from overshutting when you fold it up. But I just ended up using a piece of steel that was from the original rack, so I need to get a better piece for that. And then probably I'm gonna get a chain that goes in place of this paracord, but I'll show you real quickly how you set this up. So here's our base. And again, this could tuck nicely against the wall. You could just lean it somewhere. And then if I just had some flat bar instead of this angle, it would be a little bit smaller, but essentially all you do is open it up like that. Grab the top. Watch your fingers. Set it on like that. That is pretty darn rigid. So even with the feet, I haven't leveled it out yet, but it's pretty good. I'll give you a close-up. So we added these gussets in here and in there just for some side-to-side rigidity, and pretty self-explanatory. It's quite a simple little setup, really.
And then we've got the one cross brace there. I was wondering if I needed more, but I think this is gonna work just fine. We've got our bolt connection there. From the front, this is gonna be the back. The front, this would be a good spot. You could hang some clamps while you're welding. And then the little dogs I was gonna make, I don't have any steel for that, so I had some shafting. I tried turning it on my lathe, but it's just too hard. I don't have the right tools for it, so I'm gonna get some mild steel, and then essentially it'll be probably about this diameter, and then I'll turn a shoulder so it drops into there, and it's gonna be a real nice precision fit. I think this thing is gonna be a gym dandy.
Well, alright guys, there you have it. A fairly useful modification for my purposes to a Princess Auto welding table. You're going to be seeing me using this a lot in upcoming videos, and I want to say thank you to Princess Auto for sponsoring this video, for providing me with this welding table, and hopefully this could give you some ideas of a way to make a folding welding table so you've got a good place to weld for your smaller projects in your smaller space. Thank you for watching the video guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers. I like it.